Hey Moxians, welcome to this second webinar series. So Mix with Mox session 2. I'll quickly brief on how these sessions are going to be henceforth. So when you go to our website, you will find on the first page, on the very first page, you will find Mix with Mox webinar 1. And if you are using a mobile gadget, then you have to scroll down. At the very end of the page, you will find this blog post. So this is our first webinar. So when you click this, you will have the ad which is running for this webinar, which was the last webinar, and then you will also get to see the video content, so you can replay it and watch if there is any thing to be learned further. And then you have notes of the particular session, and most interestingly, you will have a download link to the tracks which we are working on that particular section. And then you will have the to test your knowledge. So just enter your name, and then you have set of questions. You need to update this and click submit. And once you do that, you can also review your score, and I'll be getting a copy of that. And so you download the tracks and work on the track. And in case of any doubts, you again come back to the same page and scroll down, and you will find the Zoom meeting, which we can schedule as per the requirement. And I'm not very comfortable in Zoom applications or internet teaching, but time has made me to do that. And others, you can also post your comments, reviews and all such things, and do work on the tracks and revert back to me. Send me an mp3 file, and we'll discuss on it further. So this is going to be the format. And now you'll be seeing Mix with Mox webinar 2. So you click that, all the links, all the necessary documents will be attached under that particular blog post. I feel that I just had a discussion with some people, and they said that the classes which you are going to take for one batch should not be available for the next batch, and all that they were giving it as a marketing strategies. And I'm completely not into this, because this is purely knowledge sharing, and you guys have to come back, experiment on it and know for yourself, and that's when you can become a perfect mix and mastering engineer or an audio engineer, musician. And this is not only for Moxians. Anyone who is an audio aspirant or a music aspirant can still follow this. So it's an open source available to everyone. So all that you need to do is go to this website, find this blog post, and keep clicking on that. So we'll launch Logic. So we had a nice mix from one of our students. Just we'll let us solo and listen that. So that sounds pretty nice. There's a very good balance, and the true peaks are not exceeded. You have a lot of headroom, around 12 dB of headroom is still available with us. Okay, today we are going to pretty much work on the accompaniment part. As I gone through the particular track, we found only the acoustic guitar to be the main accompaniment, which completely follows the entire music composed. There are piano and piano strings and a few other elements, like they all just come and go, but they are not going to stay there forever in the mix. So but this acoustic guitar is going to be the fundamental absolute stereo accompaniment in our song. So what we did is, we had the left and the right, so it's a stereo a mic'd acoustic live guitar, and we had panned them to hard right and left. If not completely hard right and left, you can just experiment on it, so that the width becomes more and you get a stereo image on that particular track. That is a very important step you need to do, which will give you a wider image. Then we grouped this, both left and right acoustic guitar, the stereo track, and combined that and sent it into an auxiliary. Hope Moxians already know how to do that. It is just creating a submix. and I have installed a set of plugins. So the first processing that we are going to do is mid and side processing. I prefer to use this fab filter, and then when you go to the very bottom, you would find normally it would be in left right mode. That is, you are going to work on your left speakers or right speakers. Change that into the mid and side mode. Choose one of the point in your graph, and there you get a special dialog box opened, and you have a scissor symbol. As I hit this scissor symbol, you get two entities separately. One is going to be the mid, the other one is going to be the sides. So you have an option to process the side informations separately and the mid information separately. What normally we are going to do is we are going to aim giving a little bit of a difference from the mid informations to the side informations, so that it becomes open and you get a little exaggerated stereo image. So what I would do is I will prefer to roll off or low cut some of the, let me play the track. Well, let me play the acoustic guitar. So we are going to take little bit of low energies from only the sides, and probably do a little bit of boost in the mid frequencies. Just listen as I roll off further. We'll play with the vocal track. You can start hearing the acoustic guitar in the combination with the absolute mono mix. So choose a point where you don't overdo. So this is basically your mid and side processing, and I'm not doing any boost in this particular mid and side processing, just creating little more open space in the sides, because we are going to apply an imager plugin and enhance it further. So I take off little low frequencies from the side. So the same process can actually be done with the plugin like the Skip 73 from Waves. So you've got left channel separately, right channel separately. When you are into this stereo mode, when I move one of the knob, both the knobs together moves. So it means I'm going to process my left and right speakers simultaneously in the same manner. Where I'm going to treat my left speaker, it is going to be for the right speaker as well. Then I can choose to put into the dual mode, so I can separately tune my right speakers and left speakers. That is the frequency content that's been played on the left and right speakers can be EQ'd in a different way. So for example, I'm doing a little bit of boost or cut in the left speakers. I could do the opposite in the right speaker, so that there is a sense of separation between the speakers. That is how naturally human hear perceives things. So stereo is all about not just playing in two speakers, it's about having a time difference between the left and right speakers, and level difference between the right and left speakers. And by this kind of a processing, you also induce a texture difference between the right and left speakers, though that is basically called as your absolute stereo. And I'm not going to use this plugin for now, so I put that into bypass mode and I just leave it with the fab filter on. The next processing which we are going to do is very little compression. Since it's a mix bus, the both right and left channels are coming into an auxiliary. I put a SSL compressor and make sure this analog is off, and dial down the threshold until I see the needle popping up a bit. It's too much of compression going on, so I'll dial up again. So very little compression is what I'm aiming at, so that there are no harsh passages in your acoustic guitar. So that much is fine for now. The next important processing is going to be the imaging processing, for which I would prefer to recall my correlation meter. I'll put the correlation meter probably here and open up my isotope imager plugin. And this plugin has a few bands of frequency spectrum. You can further alter the bands, but You can just experiment on it. So let me put back into the original position, and then you have this particular slider which says off and on. So this, when it is on, you're going to stereo size the track, and the amount of stereoization is this particular slider. So I leave it like this, and then how much amount of stereo enhancement is happening per band is what this particular slider. So right now I'm going to give it on the highest frequencies, and then the next highest frequencies, a bit like this, and play the track. Let me play just the acoustic guitar. You can see this polar samples is spread across the left and right channels, and as I increase the amount of stereoization, you can see the polar samples are much distributed, and also you can see what happens to our correlation meter. So the correlation meter earlier in the mono mix, it was pretty much closer to +1, and now it started moving towards 0. Now let's overdo this particular stereoization. I'll choose the next lowest band, and I do the same thing. Now you could see very clearly that we are going towards the negative region. We are pretty much onto the next region, which is not supposed to happen. As you see, this is also represented in this correlation meter, which is inbuilt with the imager. We are started to move to the negative region, which shouldn't happen. So I don't do that much of stereoization. So keep it to an extent where it is enhanced a bit. So let's just listen with the I'll further reduce it a bit, not so much of stereoization, because we will also doing little bit of width factor during the mastering stage. So I don't prefer to overdo this stereo enhancement in the mixing stage, but it's definitely a very nice enhanced thing. The next option what we are going to do is we are going to do a process called match EQing. So earlier in the first session we did an absolute mono mix, and now we are going to do an accompaniment track which is an absolute stereo mix. So what we are going to do is we are going to use the sidechain option of this particular plugin. So I go and choose the track which is a mixed mono track, and that is going to be the reference for this plugin. So I have the reference knob which is purple in color. Click that and click learn and play the track. Usually play the loudest portion of your track, especially like chorus or something like that. So what happens now is the plugin is now learning the frequency graph of the absolute mono sections, which includes kick, bass and vocals. Probably I would play it for 2 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds, then stop. And now this plugin is basically installed in your the mix bus. That's your current. So I hit current and then hit learn and then play. It is now looking at the graph of the acoustic guitar and learning it. So these are the frequency spectrum of the guitar, and it has already learned the mono mix frequency spectrum. Let me stop. What I can do is I can simply put a match EQ. So what it did is it took the copy of the reference element, took the graph and completely posted it onto the current element. But I do not want this to happen. I'm going to bring down this fader in a negative direction. So now there's a separation happening. So the frequency content which were present in the kick, bass and vocals, the combined mono mix, are now going to be removed in your accompaniment section, so that there are no clashes between the absolute mono mix and the absolute stereo mix. So by doing this gently, I end up cleaning lot of space, and I get to hear the guitars as well as my other elements in my track. So the guitars are more prominent. So whatever you do, don't overdo it. So you have a slider here to ensure the peak treatments. Look at the EQ graph. They are harsh and now they are very soft and subtle. The graph changes. So you can try to vary and manipulate your EQ settings. So I do it very gently. And what we can do is, to check whether we are traveling in a right direction, you have to do a major cross check. I open the gain plugin, which we already installed in the first session, and I'm also opening my correlation meter, and I also prefer to open my loudness meter. So let us play it again. So your track started getting a little bit of width here, and you have an option to make the complete mix mono or stereo. I'll switch to mono, stereo, mono and stereo. You should have noticed there was no change, no increment or decrement in loudness, or none of the track got buried when you converted from stereo into mono. So that means we are going in a very positive direction. And look at the LUFS meter as well. We haven't crossed the integrated value, so we are still within negative 21, 22, 23. That is the range we are aiming at. Download these tracks, that is especially your left and right acoustic guitar, and mix it as per the instructions given in the video as well as the PDF, and combine it with the earlier vocal, kick and bass mix, and revert me with an MP3 file, the combined mono mix and absolute mono mix and the stereo mix, and do check it in your car or mobile phones, televisions, and then revert back to me. I want to introduce another logical reasoning thing. Well, let's go beyond the subject and learn something as well. Do you know who is the first Grammy winner for sound engineering, and when did it happen? It is one Mr. Ted Keep in 1959. He got a Grammy for a song which is basically sung by chipmunk voice. So that's a time when not even cassettes were prominent. It was only your gramophones and vinyl discs. So how he would have got that particular effect? In a digital era, it is very simple. When you go to your track playing, we had just a Nectar plugin, and going into the pitch option, I have a form and shift. It is very simple to get a form and shift and get this particular kind of an effect. This, imagine, he did it in the year 1959 when gramophones were there. It's not about just changing the sound. You have to maintain the pitch. You have to, if the key is in C or D, the song has to still sound in D, but the sound alone changes. So comment and let me know how this was possible in 1915. What is the technology which he used, Mr. Ted Keep used to get this particular thing, and post it and share it with me as well as. Thank you. See you all. Bye bye.